Welcome to our aging puzzle. I am your host, Carlette DeVoe. Welcome to the third week of May. Yay! Remember, our show is about aging and how it affects all of us. We are aging every single day. So we love to have conversations with guests from all walks of life so we can talk about how life is impacting us. We talk to seniors, we talk to middle-aged, we talk to young folks. We want to share everyone's story with you because everyone's story has the potential to impact at least one person out there. So thank you for joining us this month of May, the third week. We're going to share a story with you today we've been talking about all month. And we certainly hope that you find this episode beneficial to you. Throughout the month of May, considerable focus is placed on health consciousness for women, men, and also children. And we are excited to have a marvelous guest today who is a pioneer in the field of therapy. Our speaker, our guest this month is Dr. Eliana Gil, who is a luminary in the areas of family therapy and child counseling. She's also a lecturer, an author, and a practitioner who infuses her work with knowledge and compassion. So we invite you to join us on this journey and this insightful conversation with Dr. Gil. Remember, every month we have one guest, and that guest stays with us the whole month. And so what we do is we take their story and we break it into pieces and we walk you through their journey. So the first week of this month, remember we talked about the importance of women's health, empowering women, and we embraced Mother's Day and we embraced the focus on women in the month of May. That was week one. And then last week, we talked about anxiety and what anxiety looks like. This week, we are going to discuss parenting a child with anxiety. And week 4, we are going to talk about the impact of our society on anxiety. Remember, May brings 5 weeks, and week 5, we are going to discuss ways to overcome anxiety and thrive. So join us for this journey with Dr. Gil because I am sure you're going to find it interesting. Now it's time for aging facts. Throughout May, significant attention is directed towards promoting mental health and well-being. Dietary habits, including what, when, and how much we eat, directly influence metabolism. So while diet's role in obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease is widely recognized, its profound impact on mental health and brain function may surprise many. Our food choices not only affect our physical health, but also exert a considerable influence on our mental well-being. And research exploring the intricate relationships between diet and metabolism and mental health reveals a fascinating interplay, expanding beyond traditional concerns about obesity and chronic diseases. As a matter of fact, the nutritional psychiatry, an emerging field, investigates how dietary patterns shape mental health outcomes. Ooh, more research and very interesting. This field recognizes the bi-directional relationship between mental states and metabolism, highlighting the complex mind-body connection. And dietary interventions offer promising approaches for addressing mental health symptoms through various mechanisms, such as correcting nutritional deficiencies and removing dietary allergens and toxins. So embracing a healthy diet like the Mediterranean diet, optimizing gut microbiome health, and improving metabolism through dietary adjustments hold potential benefits. We got to watch what we eat and take care of ourselves. That's important. Additionally, weight management strategies include both weight loss and weight gain and can mitigate mental health issues. Remember, fasting and intermittent fasting regimens have also gained attention for their potential to induce 𝐏𝐚𝐠𝐞𝐬, prompting and promoting brain health and mood regulation. Wow, a lot going on here, y'all. We have to stay focused on our health, our diet, because everything apparently, as you can tell, is all linked. So collectively, we have the power to turn our lives filled with health and joy. We have that power. It is what we do, what we eat, and how we take care of ourselves. So keep moving and keep maintaining your health. Now it's time to welcome our special guest. We are thrilled to introduce our special guest this month, Dr. Eliana Gil, a renowned figure in the field of family therapy and child counseling. Dr. Gil has held key roles, one of them as a board member with a number of various professional organizations. And she is the former president of the Association for Play Therapy, such as the former president of the Association for Play Therapy, and also she's the founder of the Gil Institute for Trauma Recovery and Education. Impressive, right? Yes, she is impressive. Dr. Gil attended the California Graduate School of Family Psychology in San Rafael, where she gained her doctorate in family therapy. And she did her art therapy training at George Washington University and has authored a library of insightful books addressing topics from child abuse, prevention, to the healing power of play. She is not only a clinician, but she's a passionate educator who illuminates pathways of healing using play and art therapies. Smart cookie, yes. She has explored and implemented various therapeutic models such as the Circle of Security and TheraPlay, and has been individually certified by Dr. Bruce Perry. Fantastic. She is a trailblazer and well-respected. So join us, continue to join us and stay with us as we explore the wisdom and passion of this trailblazer in the therapy field. So please join me in welcoming our guest, Dr. Eliana Gil. Welcome, Dr. Gil. Welcome back, Dr. Eliana Gil.
Thank you.
This week, we're going to be talking about something that is very important. This whole month is a very important month, a crucial month in talking about anxiety in children. This week, we're going to be talking about parenting a child with anxiety. Oh, boy, that is scary.
Mm-hmm.
It is scary because we know where this can take us down the path. However, it is not scary when we know where to go for help. There are resources out there that can help children, parents, and anyone with anxiety. So we want to be sure that we let people know, our listeners and our viewers know, that help is out there. It's not daunting. Get help, talk to someone, and let them help you parent your child with anxiety so you and your child can get through the difficult times and eliminate or alleviate anxiety. We know it's tricky, but it can be done. Dr. Eliana, dealing with child anxiety, we already know is daunting. It can be scary. It can even bring anxiety to the parents, just as the children have anxiety. Can you share some tips for parents who are on this path, who may have been told that their children or their child has anxiety? Can you share some tips for those parents on how to deal with it?
Yes, and I do think that it's really important to make a footnote that when children have anxiety, the parents can really become concerned and worried and depressed. And it can feel overwhelming to have a child that you don't understand, or a child that you feel you can't help in some way, or a child that you feel is having more difficulties than they need to be having to have sort of a normal childhood. And so I think that for parents, it's really important, A, to understand what anxiety is without without going too far ahead of it, without feeling like this is the beginning of the end, or this is going to lead us to this place automatically, and just to understand it as something that's temporary. It's something that needs to get addressed, and it's something that they're quite capable of addressing with patience and with a lot of understanding and willingness to communicate with the child. So, for example, and this is a very small example, but let's say a child is afraid to go to bed at night. One possibility is for the parent to come in and say, "Oh, it seems like you're really kind of nervous about sleeping. Let's take a look around your room and just make sure that everything's completely in order and there's nothing to be worried about." And you take the child by the hand and open the closet and look under the bed, and you kind of take those steps of not arguing, but saying, "Yeah, it can feel nervous sometimes at night. I can feel that way. You can feel that way. So let's do what we can before you go to sleep and try to just kind of reassure ourselves." So that's one approach. A different parent might come in and say, "There's nothing for you to be worried about. Don't be silly." And that's well intentioned. It's like, I'm just going to reassure them quickly and they'll be fine. But then the child is left alone to handle or to hold or to carry whatever those fears and anxieties might be. So I think that being responsive to kids and not reactive is really important. And then to not minimize it in any way, because when a child is worried about something, it can feel huge.
Absolutely.
And they may not have the language to go and express it to someone else. But I've seen kids who have like a problem with a friend, and that becomes all they can think about. And they become scared and they become avoidant of the friend, or they become clingy, or something changes in their behavior that indicates that they're not okay. So I think for parents, it's just acknowledging, yeah, this doesn't feel right to me, but there's so many resources now. There's people who have written so many beautiful little books for children on anxiety and worries and how they get big. And so any local bookstore that you go into is going to have a children's section, and it's going to have some of those books. And you might be able to provide resources to your listeners. I'm happy to contribute, but it's amazing how many great books there are. And that's a wonderful thing at the end of the day and right before the child goes to sleep to provide to them, because it kind of organizes, you're not alone. There's nothing weird because you're feeling this way. Here's some ways that kids take care of this or address it, and you're going to be fine. And so I think the approach, again, has to be really responsive, really well thought out, and really, hopefully, inviting the child to kind of say a little bit about what's on their mind, or to say a little bit about the worries that are getting big. We give kids, and parents can do this easily, but those little feeling faces that you draw, and we draw them of different sizes. So it starts little and then it gets bigger, 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 bigger. And sometimes kids can just point to what size their feeling is. And then if they're pointing to 4 and 5, then you know that the child is carrying something heavy. And then the idea is to lighten their load and to make sure kids know they're not alone with their feelings and their worries and their fears. There's always someone at their side, and someone who has been a kid who's had big worries, and so the parents need to kind of become informed, but also be able to use themselves as a resource because they've been through similar experiences that might actually help their children.
Wow, that's excellent advice, Dr. Gill. And we know that parenting a child with anxiety often involves, as you say, a balance of support, but also fostering independence.
Yes.
You said asking the child, to show you what they're feeling. If they're 4 and a 5 or a 5, you know that they are carrying a heavy load.
Right.
How can parents empower their child to cope with anxiety while also encouraging autonomy? How can a parent help their child who is at a 4 or a 5?
Yeah.
That's huge.
So I think that there's a couple of things I want to say there, but if it's a 4 and a 5, then it really gets to that point where parents have to teach. So they might teach how to kind of get themselves comfortable in their body. They might teach them how to breathe. They might give them a safe place in their mind that kids can go to. And that might include them making a picture of a safe place. What does a safe place look like? Or cutting it out of a magazine. But having some ideas that you don't have to stay where you are. You can actually move into a different place where you start imagining something different. You start imagining safety. You start imagining happiness. You start imagining hanging out with friends and doing normative activities instead of kind of leaning into that fear. Because sometimes when kids start attending to the fear too much, like really thinking about it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think that parents really need to, at that point, teach some strategies so that the kids can learn to comfort themselves and to kind of stop being so wound up, as it were, but learning to, their bodies can relax and that they have some control over that. So I think that's really important. And then I think the other thing is for the parents just to always keep in mind that there are strategies they can model. And so, for example, if a parent is able to say to a child, oh, by the way, I had a really rough morning and my car wouldn't start and I just got so worried and I didn't know what to do. And here's what I did about that. I think that's important. And then the other thing I really wanted to emphasize is to start identifying the child's good capacities. In other words, you know, there was a great book that was written called Catch Them Doing Right, because sometimes sometimes we just focus on what the kids are doing wrong and that's what we pick on. But if you can constantly, even at the end of the day, go through, wow, we went to the soccer match and you made a new friend. And wow, you know, you really knew just what to do with the dog to make him feel relaxed and whatever. But those are all capacities and you want to grow those. So I think that when you have a child with anxiety, they start feeling like there's something wrong with them. They can't do anything right. So you want to continue to emphasize, your teacher told me today that you were the one who helped another kid. Wow, I'm so proud of you that you could do that. And how did you know how to respond? And, you know, like make a big fuss over the things that kids are doing that are mastery kinds of behaviors. And by doing that, you begin to balance off this sense of there's something wrong with me and I can't do anything right and nobody likes me, because that's going to feed into growing the anxiety.
Absolutely. Dr. Gil, you are just amazing. You are sharing so much information on the show today. I appreciate you. You know, as you were talking, I was just thinking about something. How does a parent help a child if the parent has anxiety?
Yeah, and that's a tough one. There's actually a book that was written called Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents. And while that's not 100% true, oftentimes we find that kids are like, they have this little antenna. And if their parents are worried, whoops, sorry about that.
No problem.
I know, really. But if their parents are worried, then what ends up happening is that the child picks up on that with this little antenna. And
The
then
energy. It's
yeah,
energy.
they pick the energy up and then they take it on as their own. And now they become worried about the parent. Like, why is mommy sad? Or why is mommy worried about all that? And this isn't helpful to the child. So I think if a parent acknowledges that anxiety is an issue for them and it feels like it's getting, you know, kind of out of control, or it's affecting the children or affecting spouses or friends, then at some point, I think it's important for that person to try to address it. Now, again, I'm a big fan of self-help books, and there's a ton of self-help books on anxiety now for adults. That may be enough for a lot of people. Talking to a friend may be enough for a lot of people. But for some people, they might actually need to go to therapy and try to get to the bottom of, why do things turn into big worries? And what is it about that individual that they can learn in terms of beginning to address those things so they don't carry them with them throughout their entire lives?
And, you know, and if they are warriors and they are, you know, filled with anxiety, it's going to transfer to the children. The children
Absolutely.
feel that. Dr. Gil, can you tell me how important is it to communicate? How important is communication to your child who has anxiety? And how important is communication to a person who themselves have anxiety?
And I really believe that anxiety causes withdrawal, causes social isolation, can make people really feel like uncomfortable to reach out, uncomfortable to talk to others. So when I was saying, I think last week, that if we can do whatever teaching we do in the context of a relationship, that's really important, because it's not like, let me give you this to read. It's let's read this together. The relational aspect breaks into the isolation. So I think that becomes one of the most important things. And, I have clients I've worked with who are not talkers, who are not verbal communicators. So I give them a journal and I have them start journaling, just write for 15, 20 minutes, whatever comes into your mind. Or I might give them a prompt. My relationship to anxiety is, or my relationship to anxiety has been, or anything like that, and just let people journal. And as they do that, it's an expression, it's a release, it's getting it out of your mind where it's just sitting and growing in intensity. So it's kind of that approach to look at how you combat things. It was interesting, a minute ago you said that parents can be warriors, and I heard warriors,
Warriors.
and
Well, we can be both
you can
warriors
be both.
and warriors. Yes,
And that's what I was thinking, is in fact, the parent becomes sort of a warrior. You've got this dragon that you need to slay in some way. You've got this problem that you need to confront. And so I thought that was great, just in terms of a word play, that parents have to turn into warriors for themselves as well as for their children. And of course, the best way is always self-care and taking care of yourself first. It's even like they do on the airplane, right? It's always put your own mask on first, and
absolutely.
then you can help someone else. So I think those principles come into play here.
I think that's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. You know, emphasizing the importance of communication, emphasizing the importance of self-care, because as you said, you can't take care of someone else if you're not okay. So,
Absolutely.
so for those parents out there that may have a child that may be dealing with anxiety, what last bit of advice can you give to parents out there as we wrap up this week's segment? What
Mhm.
final advice can you give to parents out there who are
Yeah.
who may be warriors or warriors? What advice would you give?
I think, honestly, that the most important thing is not to feel afraid if this is an issue in your family, or if it's an issue that you've carried around. Just because you have carried it around doesn't mean you can't place it somewhere else, that you can't address it. And it may just be that no one ever attended to it, like people dismissed it or made it like, oh, it's not a big thing, everybody worries. And so I think just that opportunity to understand that this is not permanent, that you can actually make a dent in it, and that you are, in essence, powerful. You actually, with your mind, with your body, can begin to address some of these worries that feel almost like they're inside you, begin to release them, begin to understand them differently, and eventually have them shrunk so that they're no longer a big obstacle in your way. It's simply something where I've dealt with that in my life, made me stronger to deal with it in my life. And now I know how to manage it and how to deal with it. So it is something that people can get on top of. I've seen lots of success along those lines, but it requires the first step of acknowledging and not being afraid to acknowledge that, yeah, anxiety is really part of my life, and it's a part that doesn't serve me well anymore. And it's something I'd like to move away.
Fantastic, great advice. And the one thing that's sticking out in my mind right now, Dr. Gill, you said anxiety is not permanent.
Mhm.
Anxiety is not permanent, right?
Right.
So getting help, utilizing the resources so that you can shrink it. And when you shrink it, it will eventually disappear and you will be fine. Anxiety is not permanent. I love that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
insights with us this week. And we are looking forward to having you again next week
Thank you. I
with
look
more
forward to it.
insights on this valuable and very important topic. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gil. Thank you for emphasizing the importance of communication and supporting children with anxiety. Now let's talk about habits to live longer and live better. Every week we talk about four things, 2, 4, 6, no, 4. Proper diet, regular exercise, reduce your stress, people, and socialize. Because remember, doing these things will help you to live longer and live better. And we want to thank our sponsor for supporting the show. Our sponsor is Remember To, a revolutionary AI-driven platform for seniors to help them stay safe, stay connected, and live independently for seniors. They are focused on helping seniors remember to do tasks and a whole lot of other things. Please visit their website at remember2.ai. That is remember2.ai. Again, thank you to our guest, Dr. Eliana Gil, for being our inspiring guest and sharing so much valuable information. We will see you next week. Thank you for joining us. Voila!
Hi, Mom. I'm worried about you. Why haven't you called me back? Are you okay?
You constantly worry about your senior relatives, not knowing if they are safe, doing well, or are hurt when alone. You need something to help you relieve your worry and anxiety about your loved one. Well, let us introduce you to Remember To, the first and only comprehensive AI-driven platform for seniors to help them stay safe, stay connected to loved ones, and live independently. Remember To offers reminders to help seniors remember daily tasks. It integrates with smart devices to help monitor vitals and safety risk, and will alert family members if their loved one falls. Remember To offers a unique suite of services designed to bring peace of mind to you and your loved ones. Here's where the magic happens. Remember To seamlessly integrates with your Apple Watch, capturing essential sensory data like falls or heart rate, providing real-time insights into your senior's well-being. Imagine daily reminders being announced by Amazon Alexa. A familiar voice reminds your senior to take their medication, drink water, or join in a favorite activity. Remember To features a cutting-edge geo-fencing sensor, alerting you if your senior has left the house for their daily activities or if they need assistance. Stay connected like never before. Receive instant alerts if a reminder is missed or if an unexpected event occurs, giving you the ability to respond promptly. Remember To, caring for your seniors should be as smart and effortless as possible. Download Remember To today at remember2.ai. It is free to use. Let Remember To bring joy and peace of mind to your family. Remember To is the first and only comprehensive AI-driven platform for seniors to help them stay safe, stay connected to loved ones, and live independently.
I'm Kevin Harrington, an original shark from Shark Tank. DG Incorporated provides coaching services to help entrepreneurs open and grow assisted living facilities and build economic wealth. Visit their website to learn more.